Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit the fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director, and I highly recommend that you use them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then take a listen to our guest, and then go visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support. Go to hometownticketing.com. They are the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but Hometown is digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, and more customization. Go to hometownticketing.com for all of your online ticketing solutions. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids up to the highest level. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or your school's Hall of Fame. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. If you've been frustrated with your fundraising program, you need to stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. It was very successful, and it's so easy to use. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. These days, it's all about social media posts. Your kids are on it, even your parents are on it. And if you're not creating content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to have you creating world-class marketing content in seconds, and it's so easy to use. Go to Gipper.com. It's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. It's Gipper.com. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. This is an affordable 20-week, totally online program that focuses exclusively on high school athletic administration. When you finish your master's, you will also have finished 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your CAA. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, Ohio University's online masters. We want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, results, rosters, communicating with people in your program or people across the state. How about athletic eligibility and student clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more. Does it better, does it faster. Go to homecampus.com. That's it. Go to homecampus.com. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for students, for parents, for coaches. And the information that came back to us was extremely valuable because it included everybody, not just the people we already heard from, the complainers and gripers, but the 98% that support our program. And when you're meeting with that frustrated parent or student, that data is incredibly valuable. Also, when you're meeting with your principal or maybe even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going all the way out to Oregon today, my home state, and we're going to be visiting with Brandon Standridge. Brandon is a certified athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Creswell High School. That's in Creswell, Oregon, just outside of Eugene. Has a tremendous background in athletics. Brandon and I connected when I was the keynote speaker at the Oregon Athletic Directors Conference. Thought he'd be a great guest, and here we are today. So, Brandon, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
Well, you and I were talking. It's the kind of the end of the school year. Some states are still going, but I think most of us can see summer vacation up ahead. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Brandon Standridge origin story?
So I grew up in a small town called Riddle, Oregon. It's about 100 miles north of the California border. My mom was a graduate there. Family's been there for forever. Um, and participated in everything like small school. We had 32 kids in my graduating class, so there's not much else to do in Riddle but be involved. So basketball, baseball, football, cross country, drama, band. I mean, just whatever it took to be involved and do something and get to go places. We were pretty fortunate there to have some pretty cool teachers that, for band, we got to go to Hawaii, we got to go to Disneyland. So there's some things that, people in my area don't necessarily get to see, which was super exciting. Um, so that was good. I always, always been playing sports, always, loved it. Baseball was probably my better sport as far as what I was good at. Basketball was the sport I loved the most, which created an interesting conflict. You'd love to have my favorite sport be the sport I want to play the most, but um, decided that I wanted to try and play in college. Um, obviously I'm, not, D1 material. I didn't get to go through the fun recruiting process, but found a home at Linfield College. Played basketball for there for 2 years. Was on the JV team. Got to learn a lot about basketball and see the things from behind the scenes, and really just get some good experience. Kind of got over the playing part of college basketball. I mean, it just, for me, I wanted to experience college more. So, I got tired of having, practices and games, as soon as you step on campus to when you leave. So just kind of wanted more of a true college experience. So I didn't play my junior year. And, was just, focusing on doing some on campus things. My senior year, same thing. Just kind of, going through, getting ready to graduate. Had no interest in being a teacher, had no interest in education. I was going to go be a sports agent, going to go to law school. That was my whole focus. And about middle of October, my senior year of college, I got an email from the girls coach at Linfield that they had a JV team, knew I played, couldn't find a coach, and wanted to know if I wanted to coach. So they paid me $1,000. It was 10 games. It was like 2.5 months of the season. For a college kid, $1,000 is a pretty good money. So I started coaching, absolutely fell in love with it, and then just changed my whole world from there. So starting, second semester of my senior year, I decided that education was the path I wanted to go to, and stopped wanting to go to law school. I started applying to grad schools for education to get my master's degree, and kind of just changed my whole path by that one email.
Okay. Hey, I'm glad you brought up Riddle, because in my long 41-year career, 1 year of that, in fact, my last year in Oregon before we kind of jumped on the college coaching carousel, my wife and I was the head football coach at Riddle High School. And I just loved it. Great kids, great program. And it really was, a small town, a small Oregon town. I think probably lumber and farming were the primary um, industries there. Um, Looking back at your high school days, because again, I'm much older than you, um, did you ever have, like you said, you love baseball and basketball. Did you ever have the basketball coach saying, Brandon, you need to, give up baseball and play AAU basketball with us in the spring? Was that a thing for you back then?
No, I mean, it was never a conversation. I mean, we had, of our kids, our best athletes, had their sports that they were best at, but you're also athletic enough to really play. Like I came out, they asked me to play football my senior year after we had a cross country team disappear because I played eighth grade football and they knew I was athletic and could run and wasn't got good grades, wasn't going to be on academic probation or anything, and so. So we had got asked to play football and just you want bodies, you want depth, you want whatever you can have. And we had, opportunities in the summertime where we would play a baseball game at 4:30 and then run up to the basketball gym and play a summer league basketball game at 6:30. I mean, it's just what you did. And, our coaches were all understanding of our time and trying to get, the best athletes at everything. And so we just did it all and just tried and played and, we just shared it. We didn't, you know, summer baseball was probably the one area where we actually kind of played club, which was Legion. But other than that, there wasn't a ton of us playing club basketball or club sports other than just our high school sports.
Right. No, I'm glad to hear that. Um, let's jump back to your college days. Now, for listeners that are not familiar with Oregon, Brandon mentioned Linfield. I'll even say the word Linfield. As a graduate of Pacific, we were rivals. At least we thought we were rivals. Linfield probably didn't think we were rivals. Um, Quite an impressive athletic program across the board in all sports there. You mentioned when you dipped your toe in the water of coaching with the women's JV team at Linfield that you were completely sold. Can you look back at that season? And you mentioned it was just a couple months. Um, was there an event or a moment that maybe at the time it didn't seem like much, but now looking back with wisdom and perspective, you can say, hey, that was a significant moment for me. Any single moment stick out for you?
I think in my mind, I mean, like there was a couple opportunities where we went 0 and 10, so we didn't win a game that year. But there were like two or three games where we were close. There was one I remember we had two shots at the game-winning shot. Like we dribble play, shot it, missed, went out of bounds. Dribble different play, shot it, missed for the win. And so I think that was kind of the bug for me. Like, hey, like this is good. I was always undersized, so I always had to kind of figure out a way to make my game work. And one of the kids that I played with in college always said that I played like a city league player, even in college. Like just jump stops and crossovers and fun. And so that fundamental like kind of mindset I think did me well in that year. And then when I, start coaching in high school, just kind of seeing those things and just enjoying the breakdown of X's and O's and, how to get the most out of our athletes and how to, get them in the best positions possible for them. And, just learning that, you can put them in the best positions. It still may not work, but at the end of the day, you did what you could.
I love it. Fundamentals and also, hey, we're going to have some fun too. Good stuff. For listeners, our guest today is Brandon Standridge. He is a certified athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Creswell High School. That's in Creswell, Oregon. We're going to take a quick break, but we're coming back with some more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And their team is going to show you not just how to sell tickets for your athletic events, but also for things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager. It's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and take a look at their great products. Probably the best purchase I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. It's tremendously versatile. We use it for home games, of course, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies, and the customer service is just outstanding. The website is sidelineinteractive.com. Check them out today. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Brandon Standridge. He's the athletic director at Creswell High School in Creswell, Oregon. Brandon, you took us up through your days at Linfield and your first coaching experience. Share a little bit about your journey post-college. What were some of the stops and jobs that you had that led you to your present position at Creswell?
Yeah, so like I said, I changed, mid senior year, so I didn't have any education classes at Linfield, and I had no background in education, aside from that coaching experience. So got my master's, accepted to my master's program at Pacific University. They have a campus in Eugene that I went to, and so essentially had to work. I worked for a year at an insurance company, being the front desk and customer service support person, and then went to my master's program at night on the weekends to finish that up. And so before I got finished with that program, my old summer league or my old summer baseball coach of my rival high school reached out that they had a teaching position and a coaching position going to be open, and wanted to know if I'd apply. And so I applied, and actually spent my first 4 months teaching, our first year teaching halftime, being the head boys basketball coach at Glendale High School, and still finishing up my master's program the first 4 months. So, I didn't have the traditional student teaching. I student taught my own classroom and had a mentor that watched me, but I had my own classroom from the get go. And so that kind of started there. I was at Glendale for 11 years. Taught social studies to start with. As we shrunk, they started asking me, "Hey, you coach? Can you help coach PE?" So I did PE, did health. Eventually got endorsed in both of those. Um, was leadership advisor for a while, computer applications. Was the school test coordinator for 2 years at the end of my time there. So just loved it. So small school. I've been a small school guy all my life, and just appreciate those atmospheres and those environments. And so towards the end, I got out of coaching. Ended up coaching basketball for a few years, baseball and softball as an assistant. And people kept kind of pushing me and saying, "Hey, like I think you'd make a good athletic director. You should start thinking about that." And so, like I said, last couple of years at Glendale, I started kind of looking at jobs and kind of seeing what I wanted to do, if I want to make a change. And an opportunity opened up in Brandon High School, which is on the coast of Oregon, southern coast. Beautiful, beautiful town. I got hired to be the dean of students and athletic director there. Kind of my first foray into really seeing if my view of an athletic program would work, and really kind of seeing using my experience in college, using my experience as a coach, and just really seeing if I could really lead coaches. I was obviously young, super nervous about that prospect, with coaches that have been there for a few years. And Brandon had a pretty good tradition, won some football state championships, and had a pretty good winning pedigree, winning program. And just seeing if I could really hack it and really think about doing that job.
Your years at Glendale, talk about, we use the expression at a small school, wearing a lot of hats. I mean, boy, you had a ton of hats, but those experiences really had to set you up, I would say, for success, both at Bandon and later on at Cresswell. Um, Taking that first AD job at Bandon, what were some things that you felt, hey, I got this, not in a cocky way, but in a confident way? And what were maybe one or two things that kind of surprised you about sitting in the AD's chair?
I would say, the first one that, was successful. I had a really good mentor in Glendale, Steve Brock, who was AD there forever, went to Lakeview, state championship, baseball coach, run up in football. Like he was a great mentor for me. So yeah, he gave me a lot of opportunities to sit in that chair to so to speak, and especially in football season, doing football supervision and seeing kind of where he did things. So I had a pretty good handle on how I wanted to schedule, how I wanted, logistically, what I expected, like the game situation to look like. I would say the thing that surprised me the most was probably um, just all the time that people want of you, whether it's phone calls with parents, whether it's students, whether it's other coaches, like kind of, I kind of just thought I'd sit in my office and kind of crank away at some of those things. And, you work on something for 5 minutes, and then, this coach wants, to talk to you about, something, or a parent wants to talk to you about playing time, or they want to talk to you about, sponsorships or, things like that. So to me, I think just the interruptions on a daily basis was a big surprise, and how to manage that with your day and time. And then, on top of that, being an AD in our school, Creswell too, is only half my job. Like, I have discipline and attendance and activities to go through that, sometimes, take precedent, whether we're doing student searches or trying to find a kid that's skipping, and those kind of things that kind of take it on. So I'd say time management was a real big learning curve the first couple of years.
Now, we're going to talk about Creswell in a minute, but is Oregon still a state where to be an athletic director, with my air quotes here, you have to be an assistant principal and have to have that certification from the State Department of Education?
No, I would say I'd say about half the schools my size currently at Creswell, which we consider 3A and up, they want assistant principal admin credentials, because technically, legally speaking, that you're supposed to have an admin credential to evaluate staff. And so to really evaluate your staff, you have to have your administrative credential, which, I didn't have when I started Bandon. Within 2 months, they wanted me to get, so I could have that ability, and that included teachers as well. So it's not necessarily a requirement. There are a lot of schools that are smaller than here that, it's teachers and support staff that are athletic directors, but then they have to have their principals sign off on evaluation. So to evaluate, you have to have your administrative credential.
Yeah, and from that AD perspective, you're evaluating coaches, of course, with your assistant principal hat on. You can be, and maybe you are involved with actually evaluating faculty. Is that right? Hmm.
That's correct. I did. But my social, typically both schools I've been at with my social studies and PE background, I've done the social studies departments and the PE health departments primarily.
Okay. Well, we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we're going to hear about Brandon's current school, Creswell High School, home of the Bulldogs. But let's take another quick break and give our sponsors a shout out. Remember, these sponsors are all companies that I personally used as an athletic director, and I highly recommend that you check them out too. So don't hit that fast forward button. Take a couple of minutes, listen to our shout outs, and we'll be right back with our interview with Brandon Standridge of Creswell High School.
We've used Hometown and Sideline Interactive both at Crestwell. We love Hometown. We started using them in COVID. Oregon had pretty strict COVID rules, and so Hometown was great about doing some contact tracing ticketing for us. And we've used it for prom. We've used it for other leadership stuff. Right now, we currently use it primarily for a lot of our season passes to sports. So like we can do like an all football pass or all volleyball pass, and they've been easy to work with. They help build my schedules in Hometown to start the year, which is super helpful. And we've been super happy with the partnership with Hometown, and continue to use them, and we'll continue to use them next year. It also helps that our state uses Hometown in their partnership for the state playoffs, so it gives our fans the ability to know how to do state playoff tickets if we're lucky enough to be in the playoffs, which is a great partnership for our state as well. And sideline, we bought our sideline score table, I think 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Our booster club helped finance that. It's been a great addition. We charge um, some sponsorship fees for those volleyball and basketball games. It's super easy to have PowerPoint that they put on, that we put the logos on. Helps make money for athletic department. We put senior pictures on there for senior night and scroll them through. There's some sports specific things that they do with volleyball and basketball that just showcases Creswell Bulldogs. We welcome fans. Super helpful, and they've been great as well. And I recommend them for anybody that's using a digital scoreboard table. Sideline's been great to us.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And we're doing these shout outs, after we did the commercials, but hometown ticketing is great. You really need to get in touch with them. For Sideline, I'll say a couple of things. There are so many, you alluded to the programs that they have loaded within the software for the display. There's so many things. You won't ever get to all of them, but there's so many things that you can do. I mean that in a very good way. And we use it for all the things that you mentioned. We also used it, I think you probably heard me say, for signing ceremonies. It's a great table. We'll have the kids send us, and the parents do it. They send us pictures when they're little kids playing sports, when they visit their college, and we get more we get the most positive comments about any single thing that we do on those signing ceremonies that we do using our sideline interactive score table. So, Brandon, thanks for sharing your endorsement. I'm going to let the hometown and sideline people know they've got a loyal customer. Now, let's go and do a couple more commercials. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle for their support. I used Huddle for years as a football coach, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids up to the highest level. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's history and talk about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then got little, if any, return on investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. Our business office loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Brandon, you shared your journey from Riddle to Linfield and several other stops. Your first AD job at Bandon High School on the coast, beautiful city. Now you're the athletic director at Creswell. How'd you end up at Creswell, and what are some things that you are particularly proud of as the AD there?
So I spent, like I said, 4 years at Bandon. Both of us, my wife is a Thurston high grad, outside Springfield. Me being on the I-5 corridor, we, had season tickets to Duck games and just felt like we were spending a lot of time in the valley. So it was kind of wanted to have an opportunity to look at a place closer to home for both of us. And Crestwell opened up. Like I said before, I've always been in small school, so Crestwell just kind of fit that mold. It just had the benefit of being right next to Eugene, so it just was a great fit for us, and luckily the job opened up at the right time, and was fortunate enough to get it. Um, and so we made the move to be closer to family, and so we're half an hour from my in-laws and hour and a half from my parents' house, and so it just makes it easier on us to not feel like we're spending every weekend driving back and forth from the coast. And it was really hard to leave. Had some really good friends in Bandon that we still have and still keep in contact, but just made the most sense. Started a family the last couple of years, and so I just wanted to be around our family to help that and help us with those things. So yeah, I got to Crestwell the year COVID hit. So summer of 19, going everything's fine. Oh,
Hey, we're
lost
good.
internet again.
Yeah, we're good.
And so we just um, you know shut down that springtime of COVID, and made my transition a little different than normal. Like I didn't get the normal couple of years of kind of easing into things. So it was definitely a different kind of start to my life here. But things we're proud of. Obviously, we feel like for a small school, we offer a ton of programs. We had girls flag football. We started in Oregon this year. Went to the state playoffs, won their league, beat three schools that are in the top 5A or 6A classifications in Oregon. Boys volleyball just got fourth place. So we really, like I said, just I guess largely from my background, just want kids to participate. And so we offer golf and tennis and things a lot of 3A classifications teams don't have. Boys and girls soccer. We know it may kind of diversify our athletes a little bit. We may lose some athletes, and be better at sports if we didn't have as many opportunities. But it's also one of those things where I just want kids to play. We know all the statistics about kids and being in sports, their grades are better, attendance better. And so I just want kids to participate in whatever they can. Um, you know, we don't have, an officially no cut policy, but I make my coaches really explain why we're not letting kids play. And when we add JV2 teams, we add teams that keep players playing because I want kids to participate. I want kids to be active. So I say that's the first thing I'm proud of is just how much we get to have participate and how much our district supports our athletics and funds it. And then aside from that, I think the other thing is our community support. Our businesses, give back monetarily. They're always willing to help out, which is super cool. Since I've been here, we've been fortunate enough to win the state sportsmanship trophy for volleyball tournament and the basketball tournament. And that's just a testament, I think, to our community, going to the away games, our pep band being there, or, just, collecting all those things together. So I'm super proud of our community's involvement and their connection with our school. And that, was super prevalent. Last year we passed a bond last year by like a 70% margin almost. So we're getting, got new turf football field last year. We're getting new turf baseball and softball fields this year. And so that's all, based on our community support, which is super great.
Again, I'm born and raised in Oregon, know the state very well. When we moved from Oregon, again, my wife and I were college coaches, and we kind of toured the country for about 8 to 10 years, coaching collegiate teams. But when we left Oregon in '94, um, my wife, she went to Junction City High School, and so we know that Eugene area well. And my impression at the time was that Creswell, again, this was '94, was kind of a small town, small school. And it was, as you mentioned, about 30 minutes or so south of Eugene. We get back to Oregon every year. We have friends, we have family, we come back and visit. And driving down the interstate, it looks like that area that used to be, just like open farmland, et cetera, is now almost like a strip mall with all the commercial development. So here's my question. Is Creswell still a small town, small school, or is the Eugene, Springfield area encroaching on it? And, there's from people in your town, they're feeling the demand that, hey, we have to be like those big schools in Eugene and Springfield. That's the second time I've asked. Is that a thing for you in Creswell, or are you guys still proudly a small town?
I would say it's both. I mean, we feel like we're 50-50. Like we're a bedroom community for the Eugene Springfield area where, people can't afford to live in Eugene Springfield. And so they, live in Cresswell. Like I said, we're 15 minutes from the U of O. So it's super easy to live in Cresswell and work there. And so I think, we have, 50% of our clientele and our students, have parents that work there, and 50% are, have been in Cresswell forever. And I think, it's a fun dynamic to try and, stay middle of the road in, because it forces us to try and be better and compete. And like I said, you see that with our facilities upgrade, that we haven't spent a ton of money on facilities in the last few years, and it's caught up to us. And so we're trying to keep our kids and keep kids playing, and keep we don't have a ton of Cresswell youth programs, and that's one of the things that we're hoping with our new facilities and having some turf and be able to use it more, that will be able to spurn some real Cresswell clubs and youth stuff, versus just partnering with YMCA or Kid Sports out of Eugene, and so they don't get to play together. And a lot of people can't afford to take them into the games in Eugene, and so we really want to kind of grow that. So I think it is, we have that kind of dynamic where it's both. We are still that small communal Crestwell town, but also way more connected to Eugene than probably we were the last 15-20 years.
Okay, well, and that makes perfect sense. And again, good for you keeping that small town identity going. We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to have Brandon share his journey with the state association, the Oregon Athletic Directors Association, and with the NIAAA. We've already mentioned Brandon's a certified athletic administrator. Let's take another quick break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Gipper for their support. These days it's all about social media, and that's where the kids are, and a lot of their parents are there too. And if you're not creating content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com. They will have you producing world-class marketing content for your teams and your athletes in minutes. And it's so easy, even I can do it. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, completely online master's program that focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletic administration. When you complete your master's, you will have also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses that can go towards your RAA or your CAA. My assistant AD is a graduate of the Ohio University online program, and it's really helped him take his professionalism to the next level. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every. If you're an athletic director, you're uploading scores, you're changing schedules, you're communicating with everybody in your program, at your school, in your state. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more, and it does it better, it does it faster. To get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Brandon, we get a lot of listeners that are new to the profession. Sometimes they're young, sometimes they're old guys like me, but they're new to the world of educational athletics. And I think it's important for them to hear about the journey that we take through our state association and with the NIAAA. So share, if you will, how'd you first hear about the Oregon Association? How'd you get involved? And talk a little bit about your journey so far with NIAAA.
My first experience actually came as an intern. I got to go to the state conference in Sun River, which is kind of a resort town in Central Oregon. It's been in Sun River for, I don't know, 25 years. I mean, something ridiculous. They've been there forever. And just, I think, hearing talking to other ADs from other states, like we do a pretty good job of networking and connection at that conference, and just seeing all the ADs talk to each other. Seeing that put that on. That was kind of my first, experience into the our athletic directors association, what that looks like. So when I became an AD, obviously, I knew I was going to go to the conference because there's so much good stuff from vendors to keynotes. We had you on, which was great. For our morning session, which was super fun. And so I think just that was kind of the goal, was to be a part of that. And then you kind of walk that back a little bit and go, okay, now how can I, get better as an AD throughout the year? And one of the things that, I got kind of thrust on when I was at Bandon was I was a league rep for the OADA. So I got to go to the meetings. We had like, I think 3 Sunday meetings a year. And just all the, those reps got together and planned the conference and helped, ask questions about like, where do you want to see the state going? And I think those questions are important, whether it's transfer rules, whether it's policy, whether it's quarter restrictions, calendars. I think it's important to give back and help out, kind of shape what the state's going to look like to make it, the best that we possibly can be. And so as I got talking to more and more athletic directors, the idea of becoming a certified athletic administrator, you know, kind of just started happening for me. One of the things that the Sun River Conference does is they always offer an LTI class. And so, within 4 years, I took 4 different LTI classes that, helped kind of get myself there. And so when I got close, then I was like, okay, like I want to get this done and kind of get it over with. So I started doing some online classes through the NIAAA. And then we offer the test at Sun River every year. So I took the test at Sun River and passed and got my CAA, which you know, like I said, I've continued on. I'm up for my CMA, my Certified Master Athletic Administrator credential. I should have that in the. We are up for approval for our quality program assessment. through NIAAA this for the board meeting in July. And for those of you who don't know what that looks like, it's basically an assessment of your entire athletic department. And there's about 300 documents I had to submit and go through and pictures. But it was super cool because I got to see areas where I thought we were really strong at, and then I got to see areas like, oh, like I need to look at this and get better at this. And being a smaller school has some advantages, but you also take some things for granted. And it really allowed me to go, hey, like I need to be more intentional about some of this stuff and, kind of dive into it. And so created some documents that, hopefully will help in the future. So like I said, we're super proud of that. Hopeful that the board approves us in July. And I think we're going to be the second school in the state of Oregon to become a quality program through the NIAAA, which is super exciting.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are you aware of any other schools in Oregon that have done that? And for listeners, if you're on your certification journey, um, take the courses, go to your own state conference, try to get to nationals, but get that CAA. It is becoming more and more. I would say it's already achieved that status. It's kind of a benchmark. Are you a professional athletic director or not? Okay, have that CAA. And then take the additional coursework and do the project to earn your CMAA. Statistically, even with more people getting their CMAA, there are more schools growing and more schools having athletic directors. If you have your CMAA, you're in a very elite group. Only about 4% of all athletic directors nationwide, and that's well over 20,000 total schools and ADs, have a CMAA. And now you talk about the QPA, the Quality Program Award. That I'm going to just throw out a number. I would say less than 1% of all schools have received that designation. It's an exhaustive process. It is, and as Brandon alluded to, it looks at all aspects of your program, but it's so very valuable to go through that experience. And, hats off to you, Brandon, for, number one, getting the QPA. And now, did you say that you're doing your CMAA separate from the QPA? Because now I know there is a QPA cohort that allows you to complete your QPA and receive your CMAA at the same time. Is that how you're doing it?
It'll be the same. It goes in lieu of your project essentially. So I
That's
just
right.
have to wait for some official documentation before I can submit my application for the CMA in. So there's a letter coming. So once I get that, I can submit that and hopefully get approved for that. So hopefully fall of 24, I'll have my CMA. I think I want to say there's like 15 in the state of Oregon only. So there's not very many people in the state of Oregon that have it, I know.
Yeah, I remember when I received mine, maybe 2011. I have it on the wall over here in the corner. I can't see it. I think I was maybe the 22nd or 23rd in the state of Florida to have gotten it. And now, of course, there's been many more, but good for you. We should have done this in the previous segment, but we're going to do it now. We'll do it again at the end of the podcast. Um, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain, maybe about the QPA or maybe about how you do things at Creswell, or even just to add you to their network, what's the best way they can get a hold of Brandon Standridge?
I mean, you can email me. My email's on our website. It's super easy. I have a LinkedIn profile. I've connected with some ADs on LinkedIn. It's probably the two easiest ways. But yeah, like I said, my emails on our high school website. We have creswellathletics.com or find me on LinkedIn.
And that information is probably also on the NIAAA portal for our NIAAA members. So, Brandon, this has been really cool reconnecting with you. Again, for listeners, Brandon and I originally connected this past spring at the Oregon Athletic Directors Conference, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly demonstrated that you know your way know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our final sponsor, Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys and then we'll find out what Brandon Standridge is going to put in his new AD toolbox. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but it's usually from a very small group, the complainers, the gripers. Well, athletic surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that actually support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're sitting with a frustrated parent or student athlete, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Brandon Standridge from Creswell High School, certified athletic administrator, has a tremendous background in athletics, but right now I'm going to task him with sending out a brand new AD on the very first job. So, Brandon, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
First one is I think it's very important to network. I think, we all, I think athletic directors have a very unique job, and a lot of times can only be understood by other athletic directors. So having other people to call for examples, I think is just huge. Like, hey, I'm going through this. Like, what have you done in the past when this has happened? What does your code of conduct say? What does your policy say? And I think, leaning on each other is super helpful. I mean, I've been doing this. This is my 9th year. I'm still, doing, calling people for advice. So, one thing I make sure for certain is if I have an interaction with an AD, whether it's a playoff game or something, that I get their cell phone number, I save their number. And you just never know when you're going to need a practice facility. You want a game, no matter the classification. I keep their number in my phone for future reference, just to have. So I think, creating a good network of ADs is important. Number two, again, like, more philosophically for me on the 3, just, there's all kinds of stuff, from that you can have, but I just say be present. The more people see you, the better off you're gonna be to handle difficult situations. If people, see you at the games, one of the things I try and do, especially, the high profile, basketball, football games, is go to road games. As a AD that has a ton of hats on, I don't get a chance to watch the games quite a bit at home. So I try and go to road games, and that's when I get to really see my coaches and my players interact, and really get to see them and focus and look at what's happening on the floor, what's happening on the bench. Like I said, at home games, I'm all over the place with concessions and gate and crowd control and stuff. So I never get to really focus on it. So, being present at things, that way you get to really interact with your kids is important. And the third one, I would just say be patient. I never do coaches evaluations. I wait a week or 2 after the season's over to do any coach evaluations. I just want time to decompress, take the emotions out of it. Um, and I think, it's important for ADs not to rush into judgment, because we do have, parents that are going to want, action right away. They're going to want, the coach fired midseason. They're going to want, certain things. And I think it's just, important just to keep an even keel, stay positive, and just be patient with your decisions. And if not renewing a coach is a very difficult decision, rushing into it's not going to be good for anybody. So, just being transparent and being patient about that process, doing the research, and, asking yourself, is it good for kids? If it's not, then it's time to move on and change. So, just give yourself some grace and some patience with your decisions, in as an athletic director.
Well, I love all of them. We always talk about the importance of networking. We're going to continue with that here in a minute, but um, they say showing up is half of it. I think showing up is a lot more than half of it. Being present, and you talked about it for all the teams, not just for those marquee teams. And patience. I put patience up there with listening. They're 2 critical skills, tools, if you will, but not every AD is able to utilize them. Great stuff. Talking about networking, let's do it one more time. If one of our listeners wants to add you to their network. And listeners, I think you got a tremendous resource here. Or they just want to pick your brain about the QPA or anything else. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Email me, bstandridge at creswell.k12.or.us. It's BSTANDRIDGE. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn profile, Brandon Standridge, Creswell High School.
All right, very cool. Well, Brandon, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with our listeners, and all the best moving forward. And I'm definitely we're coming out to Oregon again in August for our annual trip. I'm going to put Creswell High School on my list of places to stop. We're going to stop in and say hi if that's okay.
Sounds good. Let me know. I'll be here.
All right. Well, for our listeners, we want to thank you for tuning in and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this every single day, sharing best practices and stories. So come back next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.